Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us virtually and in person at the library as we take a look at a pretty interesting piece of town history, of county history. Something we're calling tonight When Christmas Came to Town. Okay, this is going to be the story of the iconic Shiny Bright, excuse me, Christmas ornaments and where they were in our area here in North Bergen and in West New York. As you can see up on the screen right now, it's one of their classic cardboard boxes, right? This is a very early sample, and you could see that they had factories in both, again, North Bergen and West New York. So again, let's take a look at this very interesting, dare I say, and make a bad joke. We will unwrap, all right, this Christmas themed holiday extravaganza here as we take a look at the history of Christmas ornaments in North Bergen. So now, the magic of the Christmas ornament, right? Now, every tree tells a story, and for many families, the shiny bright ornaments are at the heart of a lot of those Christmas morning memories. We've all seen these ornaments on our own trees, on someone else's trees, through the last 90 plus Christmas seasons. Okay. But do we know the history of this kind of shiny and bright ornament, all right, that has been on trees, not just in North Bergen and Hudson County, but across the United States? Okay, so let's take a look at where this gets started. And it all starts with a German immigrant by the name of Max Eckhart. So, Mr. Eckhart was born in 1890 in Oberlin, Germany. And again, it's a small kind of rural area, right? It's nothing really big going on there. However, he happens to be near the town of Lashow, right? And that is going to be the home, the birthplace of the glass Christmas ornament. And prior to Max Eckhart coming to the United States, right? If you wanted a glass Christmas ornament, you needed to get it from a German made company, right? Company from Germany. These are the only people really producing these glass ornaments, all right? Now, Mr. Eckhart, like many Germans, in the midst of World War One, were going to be drafted, and he really did not want to be involved in this war. So he made a run for the United States. And again, arriving here in 1916, just prior to us getting involved in the war. Now, he started out, right, kind of doing the only thing he knew, which was working in this Christmas ornament industry. And he wound up starting as an importer of German made ornaments, and then eventually founds his own company, Shiny Brite, in 1937. Okay, so again, we have this young German immigrant who comes here, sets up shop, and then really expands over time. Now, his original designs were these silver tone metal tops, uh, mostly orbs, different kind of funky shapes. They were hand decorated. They're clear original balls and then colored with glass and with silver nitrate coated interiors. Uh, Again, spherical in shape. And he introduced like an Americanized Santa, like into the, like the traditional like Coca-Cola Santa that we see today, right? Rosy cheeks, big belly, right? He introduces that into the idea of an ornament. And then he really dabbles, and again, it's the 30s, right? So there's this Art Deco style that's going around. Now I do have to tell you this: if you are have any of these laying at home, they may be worth some money. All right, and that's why we're going to kind of go through a lot of the details and a lot of the design styles, just so you kind of know what you're looking at and what we're looking for. Okay, now uh, this idea of Shiny Bright, right, with the name, it's a brilliant twist, right? So Eckhart is developing these coated ornaments, right, with this silver nitrate in it. And the silver nitrate is used to keep the ornaments shiny year after year. Okay. Which, from like a business standpoint, like doesn't really make sense because you feel like you want them to buy new ornaments every year, but Eckhart's like, no, no, they're going to last forever, right? These ornaments are going to be with us for a while. He originally partnered with Corning Glass to mass produce these glass ornaments, right, using light bulb machines. However, he wanted to expand, right? And he worked with like this Corning factory out in Pennsylvania, and he realized like, hey, it's a little costly to get everything from my factories out in Pennsylvania over to the larger market, which was New York City. So he looked where many other entrepreneurs looked, and he looked right at Hudson County. And he's going to make a deal with the K&W Glasswork Factory, which was located at 6914 in Park Avenue in Guttenberg. That's going to be his first place of business that he opens up. And they will start producing ornaments right there in about 38, 39. So the company moves in. The image we see there is from a Time magazine expo they did on the industry during World War II. And we'll talk more about that in a second. Here are some of the great advertisements they had, right? These are from like the late 40s for the predominant part. And again, it's just showcasing some of the ornaments that they're producing. And again, they're all glass made, right? Hand painted, they're hand decorated. All right. And again, it's done by folks that are living right here in Hudson County. Now, most of you will recognize those kind of cardboard boxes right onto the right. That's the traditional Shiny Brite box. You would have found them at Woolworths and everything now. But their factories did expand, right? Guttenberg, North Bergen, West New York, Hoboken in Hudson County, and they even had a factory in Irvington, New Jersey. By the 1950s, Hudson County alone produced 100 million ornaments annually. Okay. Now, how did he do this? Right. And there were a lot of problems that the Eckharts faced. Aside from your average, like, hey, these are glass ornaments, so they break constantly. Also, there were a lot of like knuckleheads who would break into these factories, you know, usually young boys, and just go in and start breaking Christmas ornaments. Remember, they operated year round as well. So that's like one of their main areas that they worried about. The other problem Eckhart had, and he had to figure it out, was that the humidity in our area was so high that like the paint wouldn't dry. So Eckhart and his sons, they developed this quick drying water repellent paint in order to, you know, get the paint on these bulbs and make them stay, right? So again, that's a really big piece of innovation that they come up with right there in those factories. Now, here's their locations. So I'll go through them a little bit here. Our factories that we have, again, is that one in Guttenberg, 6914, right? There's another one on Kennedy Boulevard at 5719 in North Bergen. You then have a few more open. You have one on the corner of 70th and Durham Avenue. All right. Then you have another one. The one in West New York was a pretty big one. It's 418 54th Street in West New York. And then you're going to have down on Tunnelly Avenue in the late 40s, early 50s, they expand into, you know, here we have 4601 Dell Avenue, 4201 Tunnelly, 4701 Dell Avenue. And then lastly, 2013 on 43rd Street, which is again down on that other side of Tunnelly Avenue. But so they're operating in large scale, right? And one thing that I always thought was interesting in the research here is they're always advertising for employees year round, and they're always targeting young high school kids, specifically high school girls, to come in and work on summer vacation, on spring break, right, to make a little extra money. And I thought that was really weird until I realized the times that they're operating, it's the middle of World War II they're operating in. So that's the only employees they have around. Most of the young men were off, you know, at training or overseas already. But I digress. Let's talk about more of these early 1940s styles, because the style is going to shift pretty soon. So he shifts into like adding some bells, some pyramids. We get a lot of reflectors added in, pine cones and acorns, these kind of oblong and diamond shaped ornaments. We get metal cap toppers, and again, hand decorated exteriors, right? And that's the Shiny Brite kind of big, that's their thing. Everything's handmade, the traditions of the old world. Um, but World War II comes around, and scarcity is going to lead to creativity. So, and this is again during the middle of World War II, we're rationing metal and rubber and oil and all different materials. And Christmas is not on the high priority list, right? Holidays are not on the high priority list for materials. So these resource shortages, they're going to lead to the creation of clear ornaments with pastel stripes because, well, pastel colors are not very good for war. And that's really the only colors we have laying around in excess now. The metal caps are going to be replaced with cardboard and yarn. Okay. And boxes are going to now feature Uncle Sam shaking hands with Santa. Right. So again, he really buys in to the wartime effort. And here's two great examples, right? On the left, we could see it, the bright red Santa and Uncle Sam shaking hands. And then on the right, again, it's blended in with the cardboard. And this is the shift, right? And again, here you have a German immigrant in a predominantly German-based business industry, and it's now time to fight the Germans again, and he's got to figure out a way to save that business of his. Now, the World War II era designs, again, like I said, they're cardboard and paper top, and you hang them with yarn. They're non-silver. They're transparent. Usually they would put tinsel inside of them. Again, if you have any of them laying around your house, take a look. If they've got tinsel inside, chances are it's a World War II era one. Again, they're transparent or opaque with simple pastel hand paintings. Again, boxes featuring Santa shaking hands with Uncle Sam. So here's a better look at some of them. We could see that cardboard top, right? We could see the cardboard insert, right, where that metal topper once used to go. And then we could see the yarn down in the lower right-hand one. And again, the colors do shift to that brighter color, right? Those pinks and those blues, right? The yellows, right? Again, not really wartime colors. So that's what Mr. Eckhart decided to go with. Here we have some more of those images taken from inside the factory, right? Here are these young women off to the left, right? They are making some Christmas holiday joy, right? And then we have over on the right, one of Mr. Eckhart's sons overseeing the production of these bulbs. So again, this was all done in a Time magazine, December issue back in 42, 43. And this was kind of part of that whole war effort to make Americans feel, hey, life goes on. Everything's going to be okay. And it's time for the holidays. So what better way to celebrate the holidays with these great American made Christmas ornaments? So again, very interesting way they did it. The company will reach magnum style now, right? In the 50s. They are the dominant Christmas brand, and they claimed they were producing 1,000 ornaments per minute in the 1950s. How did they get that? Well, they shifted from the hand painting to machine decorating. Okay, so that's how they're able to hit that high, 1,000 ornaments per minute. They are going to expand their shapes. You're going to get icicles, you're going to get teardrops, lanterns, pine cones, and they estimate that 75% of the ornaments in the United States, right? So 75% of all ornaments on all the trees in the United States in the 1950s were made by Shiny Brite, and they were from those North Bergen and West New York factories, right? So that's a very impressive stat. That we are that far. Now in the 50s, they get a little interesting. They're colorful, okay? A lot of new shapes. That silver nitrate comes back. They're machine decorated. They're crimped scallop metal toppers and finally marked with made in the US and Shiny Brite on them. So we'll take a look at some of these. Most of us, these are probably the ones we've seen in our lifetime hanging around, right? These silver stripes, all right? We could go with the machine stenciled, right? It's the ornament that never comes off. It's on there forever. The indents, which are, I think are the most iconic ones that they made, right? Those have always been around. And you get the UFOs, or what were called the atomic ornaments. And again, remember, it's the 50s, right? He's staying with the trends, with the styles of the time. And then you get some of the lanterns, right? These kind of mirrored on paper lanterns. So again, you got those. Here's one of the advertisements out of the 50s. All right. And again, you can see the prices. These angels, right? These little more complex ones on the left-hand side here, 3 for $1.05, right? But you can get a box of 12 off to the left here for as low as 79 cents for a box of 12. And again, so Eckhart knew he's kind of knows he's the only guy doing this, so he could set the prices relatively low. However, these low prices and the shift to machinery, and it's gonna come back and haunt them a little bit. But this is the advertisement they had from Sears and Roebuck, right? So the Sears company is carrying them. Like I said, Sears carried them, Woolworths carried them, right? All the major national brands were carrying your Shiny Brite ornaments. Now, problems will arise in the 60s. Mr. Eckhart will pass away in 1961. And the ornament industry, in and of itself, just takes a turn and they shift to plastic. Glass falls out of favor, right? Again, plastic is more durable and it's going to be cheaper. Okay. The factories will start to close in the late 50s. They start to close. The last factory to close in North Bergen will be in 1962. And by 1962, the Christmas industry, the ornament industry, had left the county. It was gone. Ultimately, the company will kind of close up shop, even out in Pennsylvania, by about 1965, 1966. And then the ornaments will make a stunning return in the late 90s. This was done by an artist by the name of Christopher Radko. He kind of waited. The argument he had was that he felt the Christmas market, which I don't know anything about, needed time to kind of understand the value of Shiny Brites. And he bought the name and started reviving them kind of in the 90s. And then once he got enough footing, by 2001, he put them back out in mass production. Again, some are in glass, some are plastic. You can kind of find them at all major retailers today. Unfortunately, they did lose the made in North Bergen, made in West New York boxes, but they are back in their cardboard boxes. And the idea of these kind of coming back also revived collectors and folks at home to start pulling out the original Shiny Brites. So today it's a huge like ornament market, which was like really weird to like kind of go through and see how people are like, maybe I'm a knucklehead and I just like baseball cards and that's all I really understood ever in my life how to collect, right? But this market for collecting Shiny Brite things, and people, really looking for these North Bergen boxes, these West New York boxes, the Hoboken boxes, like the holy grail of Shiny Brite boxes. But if you have some of these laying around at home, you might want to take a look. The big ones are those ones out of the 50s. If they have the Shiny Brite made in the USA stamp, they are pretty valuable. They go for a couple of bucks. Again, the value also does depend on the age, the condition, and the design rarity. I also spent way too much time on like collectors listings of all of these ornaments and finding out how much each one was, as if I have any of them. But if you are interested in collecting them, they're all over your eBays, your Etsy, Ruby Lane, which was a big one. There was a ton listed on there, which might give you an idea of how much or what they might be worth. And now today, listen, the legacy that sparkles on, right? So this Shiny Brite, this small kind of blip on the history kind of timeline, right? A company that operates in our neighborhoods, for less than 30 some odd years. They are really part of the American Christmas tradition. Um, from Hudson County to homes across the world, I can say at this point, right? Where now with some of the resales and the newer ones, Shiny Brite reminds us not just of this joy of the holiday season, but really it should remind us of the resilience of American ingenuity, how you can really come up with any idea. And if you work hard at it and innovate, you could have this kind of, slice of the American dream, so to say. Um, so that is what I have for you folks. Again, thank you for coming and joining me. I know we got somebody in person, which was awesome. I know it's cold out. I know the rest of you are home. And I will gladly take any questions if you have any right now.
And just a reminder to those of us who are joining from online today, you can type your questions in the chat box and I'll read them out loud to my call. And while we're waiting for people to start typing questions, I can start us off with a question. You mentioned that Shiny Brite Ornaments got a revival. Was the factories for the revival ornaments also based in North Bergen or in Hudson County?
So no, unfortunately they're not. They are going to be based where everything is based now in manufacturing. They are going to be created overseas. So unfortunately we did lose that. I mean, it would have been great to see that industry come back. But unfortunately it is going to be produced elsewhere.
Thank you. I do see that someone has a hand raised, I believe. So if you want to either unmute yourself or type your question in the chat box. There's another question in the chat box. Let me just scroll up. Can you still find these sold anywhere?
So the new ones, yes, like you could find them pretty much at any retailer, Target, or one of the big box stores carries them. If you are looking for those vintage ones, though, I mean, it's online resellers, it's garage sales, I would assume. I'm a big believer that history is everywhere. So I'm assuming they're probably tucked away in somebody's attic or someone's basement, where they've probably been for the last 20 years and been opted out for newer decorations.
Excellent, thank you. If you don't mind going back to the slide where you did locations, someone asked, do we know where the factory was in North Bergen? Apologies if you already said it.
Yeah, no, I'll gladly, we'll go over it again. So the couple of factories in North Bergen, right? We're going to have 70th and Durham Avenue, right? Which is, again, nice. It's a corner property, really tucked away in a neighborhood. You're going to have 5719 Kennedy Boulevard, which is kind of now, I believe it's a parking lot for PC Richard, if I'm not correct, wrong. I think that's that address over there. And then you had 3 locations down off of Tunnelly Avenue. You had 2013 43rd Street, you had 4701 and 4601 Dell Avenue, and then 4201 Tunnelly Avenue. The 4102 Tunnelly Avenue address is still there. It's you could technically still go in there if you wanted, because it's the current New Jersey Brewing Company building.
Excellent, thank you. The next question, did Shiny Brite have any local competitors in the industry?
No, so they had almost no competitors, not just in Hudson County and New Jersey, almost none existed in the United States. Max Eckhart really shows up here with a thing that Americans aren't doing. Again, our kind of Christmas tree, decorating style, right? You gotta remember, he's coming here in 1916. He's surviving the Great Depression here. And for that stretch of, the late 20s, early 30s, the idea of a Christmas celebration that we think about today, like decorating a tree, getting a tree, right? Would have not been a thought for a lot of those people. So the fact that he actually is able to survive as this importer of these items before moving on to selling, right? He's the only one doing this, right? He's got the whole market cornered. It's just a matter of how fast can he scale to have no competitors.
Excellent, thank you. The next question, did the copyrights expire so that Radco just took over?
So Radco actually buys out a lot of the stuff. Now, when it comes to the copyright, I think you have to purchase the name Shiny Brite as that's trademarked, but I think he purchases basically their entire catalog as well. So when it comes to the copyrights, this guy just buys it all out. Now, how much he paid for it, I wasn't able to come across that, but he does make a deal with the, heirs to the Shiny Brite name, I guess, and purchases everything.
Thank you. How popular are the revived Shiny Brite Ornaments today?
I mean, I don't know how popular they are. I know, like, when my wife drags me to like stores and I see them, I'm like, hey, they used to make those in North Bergen, and she's like, I know, you tell me all the time. So I mean, I don't know how popular they are, like outside of our area. I think folks that remember them and know the company was once operating here, I think it's still kind of big with them when they see it. And I think maybe they purchase it as like a novelty item. But I don't know how much it has, name brand power in like Wisconsin. I know they are still a little on the affordable side when compared to other ones. But I'm not sure how much of that is the name brand and the recognition is still for people.
Do you know the largest amount paid today for the ornaments?
I'm sorry?
Do you know the largest amount paid today for the ornaments?
Oh, no, that I couldn't find. Everything I saw, like when I was like fumbling through eBay and Etsy, there were things like, a few for like $3, then it went up to like $150, and then it depended on how many you bought. So it really depends on what you have and what you're looking for. I did see on one thread that if you could find a box for under $10, that you should definitely buy it. Like that seemed to be like a steal. A box of 12 for under $10 was like, that was a steal to completely get one.
Excellent, thank you. And the final question that I currently have in the chat box. Does today's Shiny Brite Ornaments make plastic or glass ornaments?
So you could get both. So you can find glass ones, and then of course they do make plastic ones. The glass ones will run you a little bit more than the plastic ones will, obviously. But again, they're both pretty easy to find. Like I said, I know my wife has taken me shopping for going to Christmas decorations or whatnot. I found them in Marshalls and Home Goods and places like that. And they weren't bad, but you can definitely find both sets of them now.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael. I don't see any more questions in the chat box. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us tonight, both in person and virtually. Thank you so much for coming out on this bitter cold evening.
Oh my goodness.
And I want to say a big thank you to Michael as well. Thank you so much for a very educational evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Glad to be here. And hope to catch everybody at our next one, which will be our traditional January topic where we discuss the UFO sightings and landings in North Bergen.
Brass into the spare rooms. They were always woods at 17.
Thank you, Mick.
Oh, thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.